Tauschek.
Here.
Herman.
Here.
Matsdorf. Gilson.
Here.
Hildebrand.
Here.
Pankwitz.
Here.
Binder.
Here.
Sandy.
Here.
Let the record show we have a quorum. Next is the approval of minutes from April 29th, 2025. Chair will entertain a motion.
I'll move approval. I'll second.
We have a first and a second. Any discussion? Clerk will call the roll.
Sandy.
Yes.
Yes.
Hildebrand.
You can do
Yes.
that.
Pankwitz.
Yes.
Tauschek.
Yes.
Herman.
Yes.
Binder.
Yes.
Gilson.
Yes.
Motion carried. Thank you. Item 3, non-conforming structures, lot discussions. Tonight we have a little update to go through and inform the council on, and Jake Johnston will give us a summary on that.
Sure.
Jack.
Mayor? Yeah, no problem. On screen, before it really starts, this kind of goes hand in hand with what we're discussing tonight, we have the city zoning map. We have it uploaded on the Sheboygan County GIS website, so it's an interactive map where, residents or interested property owners can peruse and look at the city zoning for their property. Before I started, we had a zoning map on our website that was an 8x11 sheet of paper and would require magnifying glass to see what your zoning was for some residents. So staff worked with this. I want to give a big shout out to our GIS specialist, Ryan Sindick, for putting this together. So it's on the website and available for the public to use. It's something we can update, and it's updated overnight. So big project that is done, and we're happy with that. Kind of going along with that, if you look, you'll see a lot of properties, especially residential properties, in yellow on the map. Those properties have the R2 single-family residential zoning district, which is probably our most utilized district. I think it's the most flexible and accommodating. So that encompasses a lot of the older housing stock, as well as like some of the newer housing stock, like the Greystone subdivision on the city's southwest side. Reason for the discussion tonight relates to legal non-conforming structures. So those structures are defined in the memo that I gave to you, but essentially they're structures, homes, i.e. that exist or were built and exist before the city zoning code was updated. A big example may be like a home that's right on the street or abuts a neighboring property line, so there's not adequate setback. Since I've been here, we've had some issue with a particular ordinance related to legal non-conforming structures that do not allow them to be expanded or added onto. I don't have a solid number on how many of those are, but I would anticipate we have a lot of them in the city's older housing stock, and I've had discussions with property owners whether they want to add on to a garage that's maybe 2 feet from the side yard property line, or even their house, that they can't do this. They'd have to go through a variance process to get any sort of addition approved. I have one example that I'll show quickly if I can. Let's see here. So if I'll zoom in on this property here, you can see the car parked just a little bit right of my mouse. There is a garage kind of in the back, it's kind of hidden in the trees, but if you look at the house, the projection is probably a little bit off just based on the angle of the plane that took the photo from where the property line is shown, but it's very, very close to the neighboring property line to the north. It's a very simple single-family detached home. So if this particular property owner, and this is not one that I've spoken to or anything, this is just an example, wanted to add on, say, an attached garage, they would have to go through a variance process because their house is too close to their neighboring property line to the north. So my proposal is basically allowing property owners that have a legal non-conforming structure to add on an addition so long as it doesn't increase the non-conformity of the structure. I think would treat a lot of our property owners with some older housing stock more fairly. So it's something that I'm proposing tonight, and obviously with it being a zoning code update, it'd have to go to Plan Commission and then come back to you guys with a public hearing probably July, just based on the notice requirements. But this is one example. There are probably plenty of others. So it's something that we're hoping to work on this summer if you guys are accommodating and willing to, give me the blessing. So happy to answer any questions. But yeah, it's definitely something that staff supports.
I guess the question I would ask, Jack, is because they're in older parts of the city and didn't have codes back then, and the lots are a little more narrow, are we anticipating, person might want to, in that example, put a two-car garage on. And the two-car garage would fit, but now, what does the neighbor say when, right now, he has, let's say, 19 feet of grass, it's not his, but it's vacant, and now you put a garage, and up to the lot line, you're 1 foot away, and all of a sudden, his open space, it's not his, but, okay, so how do you propose to regulate
Yeah, no,
what
it's-
kind of addition, north, south, east, west?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. I think my suggestion, and obviously this would be an ordinance we would craft with the city attorney to make sure the language is, thorough and vetted, with that, for this particular homeowner, if there was, say, some addition, say they added a attached garage to the southern part of their property, the addition could not increase the nonconformity or create a new nonconformity. So hypothetically, say there was a house that's 3 feet from their neighboring lot line. In this district, you typically have to be 9 feet from your neighboring lot line. Say this property owner wants to build like a second floor addition. They could do that with this ordinance update as long as it doesn't get, 2 feet from the neighboring lot line. So they could go up or they could go out in a different direction that doesn't create or increase the nonconformity. So the ordinance would not be crafted in a way that would allow folks that have a non-conforming structure to build, all the way up to their property line in every single way.
I guess that's where I'm going with it, because you don't want to, not encroach, because you're still on your property, but you definitely have changed the character. And not every neighbor is on good terms with
Sure.
the other neighbor, and then something like that could even make it worse. So then, how does the neighbor say no, when he's not an owner, but he's a neighbor? Yeah, so
Sure.
just understand why he wants one, because right now he can't have one.
Sure. Yeah, again, good point. I think something we can bring up as we kind of craft something and bring it to plan commission, if you guys are, again, on board. But yeah, the goal of this is to definitely treat our residents that maybe have a home that was built in the 1920s, just as fairly as someone that bought a house that was built in 2010 with the current standards. So,
But we still have to, we have ordinance, we still need to live within regarding setback,
correct, yes.
impervious surface.
Correct.
Right?
So, yes, so the ordinance wouldn't alleviate those issues. Again, it would just, for this particular property owner, it looks like they have, we'll go over here, Alder Herman, you might not be able to see. But again, if they wanted to build an addition under their house, or maybe go out this way, the addition would be conforming to the setbacks of that district, which require 9-foot side yard setbacks. But again, we wouldn't permit something that would create, like, say they wanted to go build a garage and go all the way to the lot line, that would not be allowed.
Right, in this case, to the south, there'd be some limit to where he could go.
Correct. Yeah, and that would be 9 feet, which is the side yard setback.
Yeah.
in that
Because
district.
worry about setbacks for fire.
Yeah.
So is that gonna take away the variance board on something like that?
Yeah, that would eliminate some variance requests that we may or may not get in that respect. So it would probably take away some Board of Appeals meetings.
I mean, I can see where accommodating that in the older parts of town, you only had one car. Now you have 2 cars. And it's a nice neighborhood, it's a nice area, but you have problems because you just can't have a 2-car garage, and today people want 2-car garages. So you have limitations that are built into what is currently allowed. Personally, I would open it up and, let them improve the property and accommodate some modifications, I don't see a problem with that.
Sure, yeah, it's something that we would definitely carefully craft with the city attorney to ensure that, you know, if we do move forward with this, it wouldn't create, you know, issues for neighbors or any sort of, you know, disputes over X, Y, or Z.
You know, and the consent of the neighbors is always helpful. Mike?
Jack, would you create like a 9-foot setback, or would every instance be different?
For like a non-conforming structure?
Yeah, like if they want to add on and you know, are we still going to limit how far they can add on, or will you look at each situation to make it the best it can be?
Yeah, well, I think, again, you know, for this particular property owner, if he wanted to build an addition to the north side, or excuse me, on the south side of his existing property, I think my proposal would be, okay, you can do that. We understand this is a non-conforming structure because of the setback issues to the north, but if you're gonna build on the southern part of your house, whatever you come forward with, it better be no more than, or no less than 9 feet away from the side yard too, you know, at least for the addition to be conforming.
Yeah.
So that's the big crux with the ordinance right now. These people that have a legal non-conforming structure, they can't do any sort of addition to it, even if the addition would be conforming to this current city zoning code. So it's a crux, and, you know, I've had some issues, but, you know, residents that are kind of taken aback by that, or, you know, building inspections had the same sort of discussions. So it's a bit limiting for those folks. I don't think it's something they anticipated when they were going out to bid for a project.
Move it to the plan commission and see what they suggest and bring it back.
Awesome.
Any objection to that at all? Okay,
All right, thank you all, appreciate it.
good. Thank you, Jack. Yeah, those are always issues that we didn't have 20 years ago or 40 years ago. Next item is municipal dam update. So with that, did you want to tackle that, Tim, or?
Yeah, Mayor, I'll do a brief update, and then I'm going to turn it over to Ethan Smith. He's with Ayers and Associates. He's on the call, and we'll be able to walk through timeline and dam design. So again, just as a summary for those on council and those watching, in 2015, we did receive a notice from the DNR requiring Mill Pond Dam to be brought into compliance within 10 years. As part of the 2023 budget, we did include funding to hire an engineering firm to assist with those necessary upgrades. So we hired Ayers and Associates to help with that. In early June 2024, in February 24, we did approve resolution number 1 to replace the Mill Pond Dam, and resolution number 2 to participate in the municipal dam grant program. In June 2024, we were awarded $640,000 in matching funds with the DNR. We also did receive a $1 million state earmark for this project. We had some challenges getting access to the western side, but we did reach an agreement with the property owner in September of last year for access to the western side of the property to be able to do final engineering. And then in February 2025, we did provide an update on project schedule. So engineering and design are nearly complete, and the review is due to the WDNR in July. Again, I'll let Ethan talk through the draft dam design and the schedule. Again, the original project estimate was around $2.5 million. Again, as we got access and design progressed, the price of the project did increase with additional scope to the project. So as part of the 2025 budget, we did plan $3.14 million as part of the project for the cost, $1.64 million from earmarks and grants, and $1.5 from city debt issuance. We did recently talk to the DNR about increasing our funding after we were finalizing the estimated cost of the project. The final, or not the final cost, but the current estimate is $3.471 million, which is an increase of $331,000 from the 2025 budgeted amount. Again, the DNR did provide us an additional $227,000 in matching grant funds for the project, so that certainly helps, and a breakdown of those estimated costs are in the project. But I'm going to have Ethan kind of go through the draft dam design just briefly and talk through schedule. The design is included on several attachments. So from that, Ethan, I'll let you give a quick summary.
All right, thank you, Tim. Thanks for having me on. So I'm going to start with the plan view that was included in the committee packet. This is sheet C200. And then if I refer to left and right, it's as if you're looking downstream. So we'll start right at the center of the design, which is the new crest gate, the 32-foot wide hydraulically operated crest gate. Just downstream of that is a walkway. This is for maintenance purposes, but also would be open to the public. On the left abutment there, there's a hydraulic power unit building that would house the pump and controls for the crest gate. Below that is a 24-inch lake drain. We included this kind of as a maintenance item in case you ever had to service the crest gate and it was out of commission. You would still need a way to pass flows. So this would be operated on a pretty irregular basis, but handy when you need it. Moving to the right side of the spillway, the sheet steel pile will be driven upstream of the current overflow spillway that will wrap around along the existing concrete wall on the adjacent property to the north. The downstream of that sheet pile wall will be backfilled. A large portion of the existing overflow spillway will be demoed as part of the construction process, and then anything to remain will be buried below grade. Moving further upstream, as I said, a sheet pile wall will be driven along the existing concrete retaining wall to get this area above the Q100 flood elevation. And then because we are raising the height of this wall, we're cutting off the natural drainage from the parking lot. So this will also include a catch basin and drainage to the tail race. The wall will be capped with concrete anchor slab, parapet, and railing to provide safety from any vehicles wandering into the pond. The other handout I think Tim included, this was sheet S900, just includes two isometric views to try and better convey the design from a 3D standpoint. And then in terms of schedule, we'll be wrapping up the final design and submitting it to the city by June 15th. And then we'll allow about a week or so for them to review and provide any comments. Harris will then submit the Chapter 31 permit to the DNR by July 1. That typically is a 90-day review period. So we'd be looking to receive a permit by beginning of November. We'll start the bidding period a little bit before that to get things underway. Hope to have a contractor on board by the end of the year. Then in spring of 2026, starting in April, we look to draw down the pond for construction. And then construction would begin in the beginning of June, lasting through until the beginning of December. Following then into spring 2027, the mill pond could be refilled, hopefully maybe a little bit earlier if the DNRs can give approval, but lately we've been seeing a May 15th limitation on that, so. Tim, was anything else that you wanted me to cover?
No, I think that's the primary update. Mayor, I'll kind of turn it back to you and
Okay, thank you, Tim, and thank you. The lot of technical drawings and descriptions in there. For our public, the current existing dam and retaining wall basically are going to be removed. Is that right?
Yes, the existing spillway and the whole left abutment will be removed. There'll be about 90 feet of the left downstream wall that will be removed and basically replaced in kind. And then, yes, on the right side, the new kind of approach wall will be driven into the pond upstream of the existing concrete wall along the adjacent property.
Which is now that parking lot.
Correct.
When it's finished, comparing it to the marsh dam that was taken out and replaced 2 years ago now, are we pretty close in looks and dimension if people wanted to, you know, see something in the neighborhood that they could reflect on and kind of get a mental picture of, you know, what the finished product is going to be?
You're referring to the Sheboygan Marsh Dam?
Right.
Yes, yeah, so that would be a great local example of a crest gate. The one here for Plymouth will be a little bit bigger, about 7 feet longer, but operated very similarly. So yeah, that'd be a great one to send to the public too.
Okay, okay. I think that might be advantageous as progress goes along. People always want to be able to picture it in their mind, and that one's pretty close by for us to do that. It just takes time to do all of that, unfortunately. Okay, any questions from the council?
I have one, Mayor.
Go ahead, John.
How much higher will that new wall be than the present one?
Along the parking lot?
Yeah, along the parking lot.
The kind of base elevation we are aiming for flood control will be elevation 834.6, which is kind of close to the entry point on the backside of that building. But then for ADA and safety, the parapet will be then 42 inches above that.
Is the railing placed on top of the wall or in front of it?
The railing is placed on top of the wall, so I think if you, well, it's not the easiest to see, but the left isometric view kind of shows that. I can provide maybe a better blow up of that to Tim. But yeah, you basically have I believe it's 20-inch concrete parapet and then a railing on top of that for a total height of 42 inches.
You know, right now that north parking lot has no railing whatsoever.
No.
Correct. So we didn't want to replace that part in kind.
Any other questions, Mike?
I think the good thing with that is, I was surprised a car never drove off of there into the river.
Yeah.
Of all these years, so that should help.
Yeah, oh, for sure.
The cost sheet that we have, that runs through the cost, are these your estimates as a designer? And no bids have been taken on it yet, correct?
Correct. These are our engineering estimates. We reached out to a few gate manufacturers for their budgetary cost estimate. Again, not a bid, just to help provide some basis for our estimate. But yeah, these are not bids.
The question came from Kevin. I mean, when it goes to bid, there'll be firm numbers that are submitted, right?
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
Hopefully, this project will attract, you know, a handful of contractors, which helps make it competitive and always helps with the price.
Would you call this a, like you just said, a competitive contract, one that would be good in anybody's portfolio?
Yeah, we aim our estimates to be plausibly conservative. So we've seen this on the last several projects of similar in magnitude. We've been on the kind of middle to higher end of the bids we've received. So we don't want to paint a rosy picture, but we also don't want to, we want to be realistic. So does that
Okay.
hopefully answer your question?
Yeah. I mean, from the city standpoint, we obviously have to financially borrow this in order to cover our costs, even though we've received significant grants and awards. So, you know, when we get into our financing, that'll come into play real quick. We do our budgets in November. We won't have these bids back until when?
Ethan, do you know when bids will be back?
When do you,
Let's see, according to our schedule, we would be looking to close the bidding period December 1.
we would have time to modify in December
Yeah, and so,
quickly?
just for council's perspective, our debt issuance will likely take place of June of this year. So we'll use some estimated numbers that we have from this. Should the project come in under budget, those will be general obligation notes. So if there's other projects we can allocate those funds to, we'll be able to use those.
Okay, that was my next question. Okay, good. Yeah, it doesn't hurt to have a little bit in case it's
Yep.
short, we can apply it to something else.
Correct, yep.
Yeah, okay. Well, it certainly gives us a, I won't call it a rosy picture, Ethan, of the, of the project, but it's nice to see it moving ahead and getting to the point of some timelines that we'll get it done sooner than later, so that's a good thing. So we appreciate your time and effort in that. It's a little more involved than the everyday person thinks of, and it takes time to do it. But I think when all is said and done, I went out and looked at the marsh dam a couple weeks ago. It's actually looking pretty nice right now. So that'll all get regenerated, I'm sure. So any other questions of the council on, while we have the gentleman, Ethan, on board?
Do you anticipate significant inflationary or tariff-related increases in your estimate?
That situation is so highly in flux right now, it's really hard to pin down anything with certainty or even reliability. You know, situations could change drastically 6 months from now as they were different 6 months earlier. So it's really hard to say.
So I assume that you built in some movement for it, right? As with the estimates that you've given us so far, you've got, some of it would be covered, I would assume, if there was some price increases.
Yes, we always include a contingency. The one here has a 20% contingency to always cover those types of
Okay.
situations.
Thank you.
Well, we certainly appreciate your time and look forward to this process moving ahead. Finally, it takes time, we understand that, but The community is looking forward to it, and we appreciate the additional information. Hopefully, you won't have too many spectators in your way down there, but it'll draw attention. It's middle of the city, so who knows? But thank you very much. Tim, did you want to add anything before we have Ethan sign off?
Nope, nothing to add right now.
Okay, good. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
The bonding, Tim, that obviously will be estimating some of that when we do that in June and July. If there's any way that we can kind of cushion that, as David said, you know, there's going to be some flux here that no one is going to be able to predict. And if we put, I don't want to say a bunch on there, 100 extra on there, it'll go to good use somehow.
We'll certainly, before we go out to debt issuance, double check with heirs on their
Yeah,
best estimate on project, and maybe they can take into consideration, you know, potential tariffs, et cetera, at that time.
yeah. Okay, good. Thank you much, appreciate it. Any other questions on this subject? If not, the chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second the motion to adjourn.
We have a first and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We stand adjourned.
Thanks, Ethan.